That's why it's important now, family, amen, that we get up and get out of the church, amen, and just stop being so comfortable in here trying to look big in front of each other. Let's take this gospel to the street. Let's take it out there, amen, so that somebody can hear it and be delivered. Somebody's got to preach this. Somebody's got to live this. Somebody's got to show them that there's nothing that the enemy can do to you that God cannot loose you from. You know what that means? That means homosexuality. That means, well, y'all getting quiet. Let me come back over here. That means lesbianism. That means alcoholism. That means drug addiction. Y'all gonna get quiet. Amen. Touch somebody and tell them, neighbor, God can change anybody. Yes, he can. God can change anybody. And so what we need now, brothers and sisters, we've got to understand, amen, exactly what it is that God have called us to. I was thinking earlier, amen, in the back while I was studying a minute ago before I came out, amen, God have already done so much for us. And I can't understand it, elders, how it is now that people who have been delivered are so reluctant to take deliverance to somebody else. Can you imagine what you would have been like if God hadn't changed you? Hey, Lord, y'all sitting there looking like you were okay. Let me tell you, I knew some of you before you got saved. God did you a favor. Amen. Can you imagine what life would have been like if God hadn't have called you out of darkness, amen, into this marvelous light? Can you imagine the stuff you'd have still been bound by? Amen. The habits you would have still had. Amen. All the hang-ups you'd still be dealing with. And look how good God been to you. God saved you in spite of yourself. In spite of all that junk that you did, that you felt like you couldn't even be forgiven for. But look at the goodness, the grace, the mercy, and the power of our God. Lord, I wish I had about 17 of you that'll slap somebody a high five and just tell them, neighbor, if it had not been the Lord on my side, I would have still been out there. Might would have been dead by now. But look at the goodness and the grace of God. Thank you, kind spirit. And so if God have delivered you, don't you think it's right, amen, for you to bring deliverance to somebody else? What if somebody had walked away and said to God, God, I can't witness to them. I don't know what to say. What if somebody, amen, instead of preaching the gospel to you, had said to God, God, I'm just nervous. I'm not a people person like that. Listen, it's time now for the real people of God to put ourselves aside and let's just do what it told us to do and leave the consequences up to God. If he said preach it, that's exactly what the Lord meant for us to do. And so now what we've got to do, family, we've got to prepare ourselves, amen, for the greater works ministry. Can I preach to somebody here today? I said we've got to get ready now for the greater works ministry, because I heard Jesus say it. He said, my time here is limited. And this is what I can appreciate about Jesus. He spent 30 years preparing for a ministry that only lasted 3.5. And even in the midst of the 3.5 years that he was here working as the anointed one of God, the Bible said what he did, he took 12 ordinary men aside and he began to pour into 12 ordinary men. And I wondered sometimes, why is it that Jesus walked away from the crowd? Why is it that Jesus, amen, didn't have a church, amen, that numbered into the tens of thousands? Because he realized, and I was reading it there, amen, I believe it's in the book of John, the Bible said that when Jesus worked a miracle, that the people even tried to make him a king, but the Bible said he wouldn't even hear of it because he knew how fickle people could be. So you got to understand, if people call you, amen, great today, them same folk can claim that you a shyster tomorrow. That's why you can't give yourself over to people. And I keep telling them, after a while you got to understand anyway, amen, that if God exalts you, then that's what what you really want anyway. I'm not looking for nobody to give me a title. I'm not looking for nobody, amen, to give me elevation, because our God, promotion don't come from the east, from the west, or the north, south. The Bible said promotion comes from God. And you know what I found out about people? If people put you up, folk can pull you down. And Jesus said, I'm not going to give myself to them, because if they call me king today, if they get mad, they'll try to take me off the throne. But he said, I got to work the works of him that sent me while it is day. And you've got to realize tonight, brothers and sisters, that Jesus now took 12 men, and what he begins to do, he began to train them. He began to talk to them. He would call them aside, and he would take them into mountainous places. He would even get them away from the crowds. But he had something he had to instill on the inside of them. It wasn't about the accolades. It wasn't about the applause, but he had, amen, to prepare them, because Jesus had to go away. And so he began to talk to them and tell them, listen, when I am no longer here, he said, there's a job that you've got to do. I wish I could get about 50 of you to look at somebody and just tell them, neighbor, we got a job to do. Or look at somebody else and tell that neighbor, tell them we've got a job to do. Amen. Jesus began to talk to the disciples, and he began to let them know, now when I leave here, I'm going to leave this responsibility to you. I'm going to leave it on your shoulders. So you've got to pay attention to what I'm telling you, because when I go, amen, you're going to have to trust what it is that I've already said. It's not going to be easy, but you've got to have my word down in your heart, so that even if you look next to you and you don't see me no more, you can still hear me speaking to you. You can still hear my instruction. And the Bible said that Jesus began to tell them, he said, listen, when I go away, he said, I'm going to send you some power. Lord, I feel like preaching to somebody. Y'all got to pray for me. I want my voice to hold up until I tell you what God got to say. He said, listen, when I leave here, he said, it's important that I go away, because if I stay here with you, I'm going to handicap you. Y'all gonna get quiet, because you've got to realize, just like yesterday, I told you how when Jesus was in the boat, the Bible said that the storm started raging, and when the storm started raging, they're dipping water out the boat, but as fast as they can dip it out, water is coming back in. And the Bible said they go and they wake Jesus up, and they said, Master, do you care that we're perishing? Wow, but this can't be your testimony forever. After a while, you've got to move from fear into faith. So Jesus said, I've got to leave you, but I'm going to leave you for your own good, because I can't be here forever. I can't keep doing stuff for you, because if I do it for you, then you'll never gain the experience that you need to trust God like you need to trust him. So he said, I've got to go. He said, but if I go, he said, I'm going to send you power. I'm going to send another comforter. Look at somebody and tell them, neighbor, he said another comforter. Jesus said, if I get out of here, I'll tell you that I made it. And you know, sometimes when you're out, especially when I was a child, Elder, when I first started driving, you know how your mama is. Now listen, when you get here, call me. Well, I was driving in the 90s, so we didn't have cell phones. Well, find a phone and call me and let me know that you made it. Look at y'all getting quiet. Some of you like that now. That boy, 35 years old. Call me soon as you get in the house. Mama, I'm grown now. Look at y'all and saying that. Well, Jesus said, I'm going back to the house. He said, but I'll call you and let you know when I get there. Because if I get there, I'm going to send you another comforter.